Welcome to From the South, teleSUR English's daily news show. My name is Reagan Des Vignes. First, we go to Puerto Rico, where thousands are celebrating the release of the nationalist hero Oscar Lopez Rivera after 36 years in a U.S. jail. Lopez walked free before 8 a.m. local time. For the last few months, he'd been held under house arrest back in Puerto Rico. He made his first declarations to the media against the backdrop of the Caribbean Sea, which he said he had missed during his long incarceration, one of the longest of any political prisoner in the United States. The independence leader expressed gratitude to his supporters.
I want our people to know that today I can say that my spirit, my honor, and my dignity are intact, that I feel very much alive, full of vigor, and ready to undertake my new pilgrimage. I want to share with all Puerto Ricans, both here and abroad, the happiness I feel at this time. And I want everyone to feel the immense gratitude I carry in my heart for all the support that I have been given, but also to know that it has been your struggle and that of all people who love justice and freedom which has made it possible for me to be here today.
To give you a brief outline of exactly who Oscar Lopez Rivera was, he was a widely respected community activist, heavily involved in developing the educational and leadership capacity of Puerto Rican youth in Chicago. He became a leading member of the FALN, fighting for Puerto Rico's independence from the United States. Thirdly, the U.S. authorities arrested Lopez in 1981 and sentenced him to a total of 50 years in prison, although they never produced any evidence linking him to armed actions. And he was one of a group of prisoners who had their sentences commuted by then-President Barack Obama just before he left the White House. Now, Chelsea Manning, known for leaking hundreds of thousands of classified U.S. documents to WikiLeaks, has also been released after his sentence was also commuted. Manning was freed at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas after spending close to 7 years in a military prison, some of it in solitary confinement. Human rights groups had denounced as inhumane the way she was treated. Thousands of people have been demonstrating in favor of peace in Venezuela. In the capital, Caracas, they marched towards the presidential palace to support the call for a constituent assembly, which is intended to restore peace after weeks of violence and opposition protests. Hundreds of thousands of Colombian teachers demonstrated in the streets throughout the country on Tuesday. The protests were against working conditions, including low salaries and precarious health conditions in the South American country. A national teacher strike began on May 11th. The federal government and state governors are meeting in Mexico to discuss measures to protect journalists. That's after family and friends attended the funeral of the widely respected crime reporter Javier Valdes, who was shot dead in Sinaloa on Monday. Valdes spent years documenting violence in Mexico, and his death triggered an outpouring of grief across the country. Reacting to the latest murder of a journalist, media and rights groups protested in front of the country's Ministry of Justice on Tuesday night. Many say corrupt government officials are preventing killers from being punished. The media fraternity has reissued calls for the protection of journalists and press freedom. May 17th is the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia and Biphobia and is observed in over 100 countries. Representatives of LGBTI communities across South America attended a summit in Bolivia against discrimination by sexual orientation and gender identity. The summit pushed for the consolidation and extension of rights won by the LGBT population. On Tuesday, a funeral was held for the fisherman who was killed by the Israeli Navy on Monday. teleSUR correspondent Noor Harazin files this report.
Hundreds of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip participated Tuesday in the funeral of a Palestinian fisherman who was killed by Israeli naval forces on Monday. The procession set out from the Al-Shifa hospital, where the body of 24-year-old Mohammed Bakr was carried on the shoulders towards his home in the Al-Shati refugee camp for the last goodbye.
My nephew and his brothers were in a small fishing boat just earning a living. The Israeli vessels opened fire on Mohammed and the others as they were sailing close to the border from Point Zero.
On Monday, Bakr was seriously injured after Israeli gunboats targeted him from 0 point near the border with Israel. 4 crewmen were detained in the incident also. Palestinian sources said that Bakr was taken to an Israeli hospital for treatment, but later died from injuries. A spokeswoman for the Israeli army confirmed the shooting, claiming that the Palestinian fishermen continued to advance in a restricted area and neglected all warning shots that were fired in the air. The Palestinian Fishermen's Union in the Gaza Strip suspended fishing in the Sea of Gaza Tuesday to protest Bakr's death. Fishing of the northern part of the territory adjacent to Israel is limited to 6 nautical miles only. However, Palestinian fishermen frequently come under fire by Israeli naval forces even within 4 nautical miles. Noharazin, teleSUR TV, Gaza.
Thousands of Greeks demonstrated earlier this Wednesday against a new round of austerity cuts. Demonstrators participated in a 24-hour general strike that disrupted travel and shut down public services. The mobilization is aimed against new pension and tax break cuts forced on Greece by its EU IMF creditors. Rio de Janeiro pays tribute to its 15,000 street cleaners on May 16th annually. The day is dubbed the Day of the Cleaners, and the workers have become positive symbols in the city with their sunny spirits. This year, the workers sang, played instruments, and danced in parades all over the city. More on these and other stories on our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, I'm Reagan Des Vignes.